everybody. This is Dana Gorman with ThriveWith3Eyes.com. I'm here with Keith Morey from SuperGoodStuff.com, and I am here with Kathy, the mother of a lovely and gorgeous 19-year-old, and who has been talking to Keith, working with Keith for a very, very long time. And I think today we are going to try to bring some insights to you about if you choose to do a liver, gall, bladder, flush, or cleanse. Just to be clear, Keith Morey runs a supplement schlepping, supergoodstuff.com. It's one of the only supplement folks that I don't work with, but I'm constantly talking about because they just have stuff that's completely unique in my estimation. He works with people doing these protocols. He always starts with liver, gallbladder flushes after he establishes resting body temperature. So Keith and Kathy, hi.
How you doing?
Hi, Dana.
Okay, Keith, you had a question for Kathy.
Yeah, Kathy, tell me your process because we haven't talked about the new way you do it.
And the reason we're asking Kathy is she has, how many of the liver gallbladder flushes do you think you've done with your son, Kathy?
Over 65.
Wow. Okay, so I introduced her to Keith a long time back, and they worked together and had a certain amount of success. And then Kathy ended up figuring out that oxalates were a real issue and has since gone low oxalates, which has been really helpful. And just to really fill in, she's also doing another protocol, which she can or cannot talk about. But tell us about the process that you're doing now with the liver gallbladder flushes and anything you learned along the way.
Okay, so I'm still enjoying the older way of doing the liver gallbladder flushes. The original way that Keith taught me to do, I would say, how many years ago, Keith? 5?
Oh, at least 5, maybe more.
Yeah, at least 5. So, which is with the Epsom salts and oil. And then with Keith's help over the years, we tweaked it so that we could do it in a much shorter time frame. So I basically have the whole thing done in 6 hours, 6.5 tops. And I don't do it at night, even though I understand that is the better time if possible. But my son's never been able to tolerate it at night. It's much easier in the daytime for me.
And just for anybody out there, we have a new crew of people that are trying this, and we have ways to get things in our sons, Kathy and I, that a lot of people don't have the ability to do it that way. So it's very difficult to get kids to swallow things they don't like the way they taste. So one of the moms...
Absolutely. So I really admire any mom that could get their kid to drink this. I don't have to do that.
Well, and that's where some of the nighttime stuff came in, was a mom who thought, you know what? I think this mom, because of her experience getting him to drink other stuff at night successfully, she's like, I'm going to do it that way, and it worked like a charm. So go ahead, Kathy.
Absolutely. That's the beauty of it. You do it what works for you, and it still works.
Right. So what about the timing? I know you changed the timing aspect of it.
So from the first mixture of drinking, I just wait an hour and a half in between each one. So, for example, I give the first mixture at 9, wait an hour and a half after that, give the second mixture, wait an hour and a half, give the oil mixture. I wait 2 hours usually for the oil after I give the oil, and then finish the last 2.
Hey, Kathy, really quick, you're breaking up just a tiny bit on your phone. I think it might be on your end. I don't know if there's a place in your house that has a little bit better reception, but if it does, go for it.
Yeah, let me move.
Okay, perfect, because you're garbled a teeny bit. So, Keith, explain to us, in the liver gallbladder flush, go through what the goals are. You know what I mean? Like so people understand, what's your goal in all of this?
The goal is to dilate the bile ducts, and the Epsom salts serves 2 purposes. First, it's a magnesium-based product, magnesium sulfate, and it dilates the bile duct, and you do it, dilates it more, and then an hour and a half later, or 2 hours later, I'm not sure what she said, You take the olive oil grapefruit, usually 4 ounces of each, and what occurs is the the liver starts to dump its bile because the oil's there. It's an instinct, you know, it senses it, and then because the bile duct is dilated, it just keeps on coming, and it just starts to dump and dump and dump and dump all this waste material out of not just the gallbladder, which is, I think, a small aspect of it. It's more of the liver, and the liver is what's dumping all this residue that's been piled up in the back, that's been backed up because the gallbladder has been clogged up.
Okay, now see the photos that I'm showing from just an online search of a liver gallbladder flush? And this is the kind of things we saw. This is what I hear about people seeing. This is just the common thing you see, right? Is all these pictures I'm showing.
That's correct.
And that's some stuff that if it's in there, which let's just assume it's in there, you will absolutely feel better and your body will do better if it's out.
Correct.
And you feel like if this isn't cleaned up and this isn't out and you start at a different place in the detox process, you will get stuck because this will still be in there.
Correct.
Okay, so...
And I can't agree more with that.
Okay, and tell us a little bit about
it. That is exactly what, years and years of doing these, Dana, without talking to Keith and getting this started, just kept me in a vicious circle of trying to heal my son.
Okay, you're still breaking up a little bit, Kathy, and it's weird because you've never broken up when I'm on the phone with you before. I wonder if it's on my end.
Yeah, and I'm on my house phone, so I don't know why.
Okay, let me move a little bit and see if that helps. Okay, so Kathy, let's go over this. You have a 19-year-old. You, like me, have done pretty much every big thing that came through that you could hear about, that parents were saying, wow, this is really helping these kids. You figured out a way to get the takeaways from that.
Absolutely.
And you always felt like you were in a vicious cycle.
Yes.
You would see little gleams.
I met Keith.
Yeah, and then you met Keith. And it really felt like the first thing you guys did was the low body temperature. Right?
Yes.
And
we did both at the same time.
So you did the low body temperature and starting with the liver gallbladder flushes at the same time. And you got his body temperature up to where Keith felt like it was where it needed to be to continue. And then what you found was that the liver gallbladder flushes became one of your go-to necessary toolbox items.
Absolutely.
And what would trigger you thinking, oh, we need to do another one of these liver gallbladder flushes?
Well, it could with a number of things. Whenever I saw detox symptoms, seizure activity, usual signs for a kid that's not feeling well, I would do that and immediately get relief. And if I didn't get relief, Keith tells me to do another one sooner than later. We did wait a few days in between, but not too many in the beginning.
Okay, Kathy, since you're breaking up,
2 a week at least.
Since you're breaking up so much, I'm going to call you back from the landline. Will you answer there, please? I'm going to call you back from the landline. Okay. So Keith, talk to that a little bit. What were you trying to teach her, and what was her takeaway?
Well, she says she does it in 6 hours. I think it has to take longer if she's doing the 2 Epsom salts at the end. So it's a little longer than 6 hours based on what she's talked about.
Oh, that's much better. Okay, so Keith was just saying that he thinks it's longer than 6 hours for the full thing if you do the 2 Epsom salts. Can you explain how you're doing it in 6 hours again?
Let me just figure this time frame out 1 second. Go ahead and talk to Keith a minute here, and I don't have my paperwork out.
Okay, so Keith, as you worked with Kathy over the years, and I didn't really realize that you guys like pretty much talked every day for, God, a year or two. I mean, I was
a year, 8 months.
8 months. I mean, I was still involved at that point, but I didn't really realize you guys continued to talk that much. I do definitely remember that she kept trying to pound into me that the liver gallbladder flushes are just this tool that just, how did I live without them? And they're making such a big difference. It did turn out, however, that until she got the low oxalate diet in place, that she really felt like, although she kept seeing windows of what she was looking for with your protocol, Keith, it would slip again, to be regained, to slip again. And then, well, go ahead.
Just to go accurate about it, we, in a very short time, got him to be quite high, I mean, compared to where he was.
Right.
Very, very quickly. And,
okay.
And like he couldn't walk down the stairs by himself. Within a few weeks, he was walking down the stairs by himself. He didn't want to go outside. He went outside.
Which is something we just saw with the other kid who's 5, who's been doing this for about 3.5 weeks. He's going outside and loves it now, and hasn't gone outside in a long time.
That's correct. And he would feed himself where he couldn't feed himself before. He was actually asking for things that he wanted. And then something went screwy. What happened was she went to a chiropractor, had a head adjustment.
Yep.
And where they do the sacral, adjustment.
Craniosacral, yep.
Craniosacral, and I don't know if the guy did it wrong or he opened a pocket of infection, and he went right back down to the starting point again. And for like 6 or 8 months that I dealt with her after that, we couldn't get him back. And
Kathy and Keith have a little bit of a difference of opinion of what they felt like that triggered and how it all played after that. Kathy, do you want to speak to that, or we'll just talk?
Be frank.
Be frank.
Yeah,
Kathy.
no, true. It was around that timing, but I also at the same time learned about the low oxalate, and I always had this thick sand in the stool that Keith didn't know what that was. I didn't know what that was, but then I learned as soon as I found out that was oxalate dumping, I realized that. That was probably a turning point. I had introduced green juice also at the same time, juicing, and I just felt I tipped him over the edge in the wrong direction. But in the beginning with my liver gallbladder flushes, it was back and forth. Although Keith mentioned everything that my son was doing, he'd slip back by the end of the week into not doing those things. Right. So it was never steady. That was the problem. It was never steady.
By the way, this is going to be the grossest video ever because I'm scrolling through these photos of liver gallbladder flushes, and there's some nasty photos. Sorry about that, but I just want you guys to get an idea of that thousands and thousands and thousands of people are doing this and talking about this and trying to help you with this. So if you do the classic Epsom salt, grapefruit, olive oil, you are going to join thousands of other people showing their pictures of what came out on the internet. Okay, so now I want to fast forward to a couple questions for you, Kathy, and Keith too, because as we move forward, we have a lot of moms who had done the CD protocol, and whereas you came to a higher plateau with your child, a few of these other moms didn't quite ever get to that new plateau. We're more like teased with it like you were with Keith's a little bit, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then came over and started doing some Keith stuff, and we're blending of tools, per se.
Mm-hmm.
So the mode of action is always something we like to talk about, but can you try to compare how an enema impacts when you get stuck, let's say, versus a liver gallbladder flush, or are they similar?
I think they're similar, and I still do liver gallbladder flushes. As a matter of fact, just in speaking, I'm like thinking I got to do one soon.
Right.
Because I do them about every 2 months or 3 months right now. Okay. And it definitely enhances the CD protocol, I feel.
Okay. So
and I always get stones out, so I feel like that it's a blockage. So
do you feel like with the liver gallbladder flush you get what you would term are stones, but with the CD, MMS, and coffee enemas, you tend to get what looks more like parasites?
Correct.
So
the definite difference between the two.
So depending on your approach, you get very different outcomes as far as what physically comes out of your child. but some similarities in so much that it's able to take him out of kind of slipping back to a lower set point and getting him back to where he was before.
Yes.
Okay. So now if you're comfortable, I'd like for you to go back to, I had this summit where we were introduced to the CD protocol. I got excited about it because Klinghart had brought this to the summit. I called you basically wanting to say, hey, Kathy, it's been a long time, but I have this new protocol that I think we're going to try to troubleshoot and try if you want to do it with us. And you said, oh, my God, Dana, I've been doing it for 16 months, and it's amazing. And I was shocked because I had been kind of troubleshooting around what I was looking at for about a month and a half, and I had come up with these clear things that I thought needed to be different, at least for my son. And sure enough, see if your memory's the same, as you rattled off the adaptations that you had made, they were exactly the ones that I felt were concerns. So if you feel comfortable, can you talk about, because now 18, 19, 20, you've done like 22 months of a modified version of the CD protocol, and you're at the best place you've ever been. Explain what your modified CD protocol looks like.
Well, I incorporated the low oxalate diet into the protocol.
Okay.
And, of course, liver, gallbladder flushes. So I think both of those are a good place to start if you're going to modify, if you have a very sensitive child.
What about, like,
possibly if seizures are involved, it might also be warranted.
What about antioxidants and other supplements that have been working for you?
Right, specifically low oxalate supplements, specifically Susan Owen's low oxalate diet and the supplements she recommends that are helpful for an oxalate issue.
But let's rephrase this. One of the first things they tell you on the CD protocol is that you have to go off all of your supplements.
True. But
you didn't do that.
She does, if you're working with Carrier Vera, she does do it on a case-by-case basis. And if supplements are working for you, she usually will say, keep them in. If you have something that's absolutely, I'm sure she's thinking that that's one or two things. I happen to probably have 22 things on board that I refuse to give up.
And so you have about 22 things that you had worked directly with Carrie Rivera, and she point blank said to you, look, Kathy, if this is working for you, let's give it a go. Keep the CD away from these things that you feel are working. Let's see what kind of progress you have this way. And if for some reason you don't see progress, then we'll attempt to figure out what might be blocking the progress.
Absolutely, yep.
And that's worked beautifully for you.
Yep, it has.
And that's got a ton of antioxidants in it.
Do I?
You do. I remember going over the list.
Yes, I do have pretty high antioxidants, but it hasn't seemed to impede what I get out. And I have thousands of photographs.
And so basically you're at...
And I do keep them semi-away, but not in the way that they recommend. Unfortunately, I don't do it at night. I do it right during the day when I'm giving everything. But maybe I'd wait an hour in between.
So you kind of try to keep the CD an hour away from...
An hour, sometimes it's only a half hour away.
Okay, here's another key point that was different about you that I think is huge that let's just elucidate for this conversation. The other thing that I was surprised by was that you were doing a much lower dose of CD.
I did try to get to my son's Gall CD, and I think I made it there, and then I stayed there for a day, but it just didn't seem right for him. It seemed to be causing issues, so I dropped back down, and I do a very low dose, not anywhere near his. I don't even know what he's gained a little bit of weight now, so let's just say at the time his 22 drops, and I don't do more than 8 to 10. Okay,
so let's just explain. Let me see if I can articulate what you did as a mother. You said, I want to do this protocol. I want to give it a go, so I go straight to the top person who knows it better than anybody, who I explained my challenges with, that you weren't going to be able to go off these core supplements that you had spent 18 years figuring out were the keepers. You kept CD away from it. Your goal was to get up on the oral CD, but your mommy instinct says, wait a minute, when I go there, I don't like what I see. So I'm going to come back down. And you've pretty much done that for the entire 22 months. You've never pushed CD past when you saw something you didn't like that you thought might be because of the CD. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, now let's explain the enema part. So here's a mom, 19-year-old son, been doing this since he was 2, very involved, needs 24-hour care. The roller coaster of up and down has been about as extreme as you've ever seen on any of these kids. You're doing this combination CD protocol that you're also doing some of Keith's supplements as well as the liver. So his temperature was up. You've probably already done 50 liver gallbladder flushes.
Mm-hmm.
You layer in the CD protocol, but keeping it under what you felt like was his CD threshold and keeping your core supplements in.
Correct.
You started doing enemas 1, 2, and up to 3 times a day. Started seeing parasites with every single enema.
Yep, and I still do.
And you still do. So now you're doing the parasite protocol every month at the full moon.
Mm-hmm.
Are you doing anything at the new moon?
No, not.
Just didn't.
I do systemics. I've tried systemics, and usually they're in place during the full new moon.
Okay, so when I started talking to you about this, you liked where you were. You're like, he's good, but we're at a plateau. He's good, and I'm doing 2 and 3 enemas a day where I get parasites out. So we discussed that although you like where he's at, you feel like he's stuck in a way.
Well, I do vary now the enemas, and when I say 3, that's right in a row though. So I don't really know if the average person would call that 1. Or
right.
Okay.
Go ahead, Keith.
Okay. So
do it twice a day. In that case, that's 2 separate enemas.
Right.
Okay. So the problem I see here is everything's working, but it's not finishing the job. It's not getting all the parasites out. It's not getting all the things, then they keep on growing. This is similar to Carrie's situation where you see these kids pulling these long strings of parasites out, but the CD doesn't seem to finish the job off.
And Keith and Kathy, and I think we both know this, it certainly appears that, well, let's back up and say there's no question that some of these kids are having great success, and once they have the GC mouth and these other things, they're finishing the job, everybody's thrilled, they're down to an ATEC of 5 and on they go. Those aren't the kids we're talking about here. We are now seeing a subset of adults and some of these older kids who have gotten kind of plateaued. They like their new level of increased health and brain clarity and energy. But what happens is they have to do an enema every time they start to see that drift in real time during the day. They're forced to do an enema to get back to baseline. And do you think you could skip enemas at this point, Kathy?
I have had to, and he seems okay when I have had to.
Okay.
I might just see a little agitation, and I'll want to do it, so I can give him some relief from that agitation.
Right.
If I didn't do it, the agitation continues, and he's just having an uncomfortable day, but it's not the type of fall off like I used to have.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, let me chime in here a little bit.
Yeah.
So, when you do the liver gallbladder flushes, I think it'd be wise to do like 20 to 30 drops of, even up to 40, when you try to do it, in the oil when you give it.
Of what in the oil, Keith?
The Paramune Plus, Paramune 5.
Oh.
So
do you do that, Kathy?
Yeah, that's standard for me.
Oh, she
that's
does.
Standard. How much do you give?
Based on past history, I do just 10 to 15 of each.
Okay. So I'll give you a couple of bottles, and I want you to try to go higher, because we're not killing off the whole infection, and something has to change, because all you're doing is going around and around with the same process, and you're still getting lots more parasites, and that means they're growing somewhere, and they need to be killed so they can't grow anymore.
And in all fairness, too. The first time I ever saw parasites, although I didn't know what they were, was with the liver gallbladder flush, long before the new CD baby bottle protocol.
Right. With the Calcur monthly moon piece.
No,
right?
I'm saying with Keith's liver gallbladder flush.
No, I know, but when you're saying the baby bottle CD protocol, don't you mean with the Calcur parasite?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So I think you should, when you give the CD, you wait an hour and do the parammunes down the digestive tract as well as rectally. You have to hit it from both angles. And, I would do and a couple of other more harsh things, because they kill a lot of bad guys off. And we got to get past this stage of doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
What are the harsh things you're talking about, Keith?
Only the orange peel is probably the hardest thing, but parammunes are pretty easy, and more of them, but rectally as well, like after a CD or before a CD, right? Mm-hmm. Where one may wound it and the second one kills it. I have some things I'll send you off the record, and we can experiment.
Are you talking about putting the parammunes in the enema then too, Keith?
With the CD, I would...
You wouldn't put...
Or just on their own, I mean, in an enema?
Yes.
Okay. I haven't done that in a while.
Yeah, with the orange peel.
That is part of the original protocol we did together.
So really quickly, the goal actually of this was to talk about the logistics of the liver gallbladder flush, as far as there's 4 moms now that kind of talked behind your back, Keith. And since we're kind of moving forward helping some other moms troubleshoot this stuff, we're very interested in having all the initial liver gallbladder flushes that these kids do be with just the Epsom salt versus the amino mix.
Okay, and before you go, and I've been thinking about this, before we make it a standard, sure that it works for us. Crystal hasn't tried this.
Right. Okay, I mean, we can certainly... It's just, everybody's way more comfortable with something that they can Google all day long and just buy the stuff at their grocery store to have people start this process. Thousands and thousands of people have had success doing it that way. And so I know you feel like the amino mix is more effective, but in the world of autism, sometimes more effective the first time isn't necessarily the best choice.
And this is where we don't know at this point.
Right. But not knowing, being conservative makes more sense.
That's fine. I have no problem. I just said, let's try everything.
But let's speak to the timing thing really quick, Kathy, because we've had 2 kids now that didn't get the timing quite right to take the olive oil grapefruit before they got sick. How do you time that with you? Do you go 2 hours now?
I go 1.5 hours, or I have done it in even 1 hour, but this is my preferred, so I guess it's a total of 8 hours. So it's 1.5. I drink the first 1.5, wait 1.5, second 1.5, then give the oil, wait 1.5 again or 2, then give the next 2 drinks, 1.5, 1.5.
So, and Keith, you were telling me and the moms that you just have to watch your kid, and although our kids can't communicate verbally oftentimes, I think the mom just needs to know you need to be on them as far as making sure you're paying attention to their face and just anything they might be doing that can trigger you giving them that oil sooner versus later. Don't you think, Kathy?
It's really hard. I just go by timing. I have had my child throw up a couple of times over this. I could tell you literally 3 times in the 65 that I've done. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But again, I'm fortunate that he's not actually drinking it, and that can make a difference too.
Yeah, totally.
You know, so you can't really go by me on that one. And I think it is hard to judge, and you know, and when they're elevated sleeping, though, if they are sleeping and they're going to be drinking this while they're groggy, if you could elevate the upper part of the body.
Oh my God!
It would really help the nauseousness.
Absolutely. And the other thing that I learned when my son was getting a GI X-ray from this 85-year-old doctor, he put the dye in and he was laying on his back, and then he said, "Okay, now move him to his right side." And me being me, I was like, "Well, why did you do that?" He said, "Well, because you have a hard turn in there that you got to make, and the only way you make it is by laying on your right side." And I'm like, wait a minute. It sounds to me like everybody who has any gastrointestinal challenges at all that involve any kind of reflux should always lay on their right side. And he said, absolutely.
You can do that easily by lifting the bed up and propping the pillows. So.
But laying them on their right side. Lay them on their right side. Be on your right for this process, Keith. I don't even know if you knew that. Keith?
Yeah, I'm not. I always thought it was the left, but.
Well, so did the nurses. 7 out of 10 of the nurses thought it was the left, and 3 didn't have an answer at all. But I'm telling you, the 85-year-old GI guy was clear as a bell, and pissy that these kids aren't learning this shit was sort of his thing. And it works like a charm, because whenever I have an upset stomach at all, I can lay on my right and I go to my left, and I can immediately feel it not go in the right direction. So on your right, folks. Okay, so what else do we want to say about any other pearls from you, Kathy, on this whole topic of what have you seen? You've seen mostly the green ball stuff every time?
Yes, almost every single time. I've had a few times too when I was doing them a couple of times a week where I didn't get anything, and Keith would say, "Do another one," and he was always right. I thought I'd be done with it, and he was always right. That next time I'd have 100.
Okay, so basically we have a mom here with a 19-year-old who's been there, done that to almost everything, has done 65 liver gallbladder flushes. Every single one has gotten out the targeted substance. He's done, what do you think, 22 months of your version of the CD protocol?
Right.
Which your only adaptations have been you still do the calciparasite protocol every full moon. You still do the baby bottle method of the CD. You're only doing a little bit less than half of what the target would have been. You're absolutely doing daily MMS enemas with him. But you kept in your basic supplements that have done well with him, just always away from CD. And you'll get parasites out with every single enema every single day for what, 22 months?
Right, and I have to say that it does look like it's slowing down a little bit now, which is pretty exciting. I hope it's true.
So what do you think? Remember a few months ago when I had done that interview with Dr. Klinghardt, which I cannot believe. I was thinking about you the whole time I had that interview with him, and you haven't even seen it yet.
I haven't seen it yet.
So here was his point, and I know we've made this point. When we describe Carter right now, which is you could still do another liver gallbladder flushing, you'd still get stuff out, and you could still do another MMS enema today, and you'd still get stuff out. We are not where we need to be. And you would agree with that all day, Kathy, right?
Yes.
The one thing you said, though, is it's looking like it's starting to slow down is the best news I've heard in a really long time. Because all I ever look at and try to see is trending. Like, I think you would be happy with this plateau for 5 years if you knew he was trending in the right direction.
Correct.
Right? So the one change that we made a few months ago was you started doing coffee enemas as in lieu of the MMS enemas at certain times. Will you explain what you did there?
Yes, and I think that's been helpful too.
And do that.
I saw parasites, and now even though I still do coffee enemas, and I'm not seeing as many parasites. If sometimes I don't see any in the coffee. In the beginning, I did.
Okay, but why do you like that? And explain how we figured out that whole routine that you do with the coffee enemas.
Yeah, I do it both ways. The routine that we had discussed, that was a routine you came up with, and I really got a lot out with that routine.
Wait, go through that really quick. Just go through it for us.
Which was, yes, I give niacinamide ahead of time, a half hour, 30 minutes prior.
Okay.
Put some heat on with a laser, usually a laser I have on the liver. Then
But but you do it on the castor oil pack? Do you do it on the castor oil pack though?
Pardon me?
Don't you do it on the castor oil pack on his liver?
I had problems with the castor oil causing reflux.
Oh, okay.
I was using castor oil in the beginning too, but it definitely causes reflux in my son, so I'm not using castor oil at all now.
Not orally, but on his liver, it still caused reflux?
Even transdermally.
Wow, that's a data point we got to chase.
Yep, I was surprised by that. Yep.
Okay, so no castor oil, but you're still trying to stimulate the liver with heat and light.
Yep.
And then,
or I'll just do a plain coffee enema, still effective.
Okay. And then
Kathy, what do you put in the coffee enema?
Pardon me?
You put anything in the coffee enema?
No.
Be ready for change.
Have you tried anything in the coffee enema ever?
I haven't put anything in it, no.
I'll send you my protocol for that.
Oh, you have a protocol for the coffee enema?
Yeah.
Is your goal that, Keith, that the coffee enema, unlike the MMS enema, they're two very different modes of action. The coffee enema, your goal is to get up in the liver, and it increases glutathione production like 500%, but it's getting up into the liver. So are you going to add some antimicrobials, assuming that they're going to get farther in the liver that way?
It depends on how much coffee you put in, but let's just say it's a quart and a half.
Okay.
I put like a couple of tablespoons of MSM, a tablespoon of TMG. I put 100 drops of each dropper full of orange peel in it, and I put 100 drops of It Works in it.
So, Kathy, when we draw this picture...
That's for adult, by the way. That's for an adult.
Right, but, I mean, we basically drawn this picture where we feel like the colony that's completely adapted to this new, milieu, environment, is still sitting back playing poker, procreating.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's why I do like to change things up.
If I had to point...
that's what I've been doing, I would say in the last 3 months, protocol, changing things up just a little bit.
Which we talked about, because I really feel like if nothing else from the world of yeast we should learn, nobody had any success until we started changing it up. Yep. And the same is true for parasites.
And Kathy, this is what I want to say to that. I think that's right, but when you change it a little bit and not a lot, then you give the ability of the parasite or fungus or whatever to adapt to it, just like an antibiotic, and they get stronger, so you end up building stronger. Instead of knocking them all out, you got to hit it more consistently if you're going to change it up, and stronger, so that they can adapt to it and be stronger animals in there.
And that, I forget the analogy on how I presented how Keith is. But Keith is basically a come in, you nuke the bejeebas out of the situation, and then you make sure all the exit routes out are wide open. And it's a very different approach than, going in with leaflets that say, we're coming for you, please be prepared to evacuate, and then showing up with buses, I think of those as binders, to have people graciously leave the building. Keith's approach is completely different. So a lot of people are like, where are the binders? Where are the minerals? Where are this? And I'm like, his approach isn't, well, he does do binding with the MSM and stuff, but he's more like, it's coming out of you so fast, nothing has any time to adhere to anywhere. And he does that with clean as a whistle. He does that with the MSM. But anyway, any other words of, by the way, Grayson has a play date today. Kathy, I don't know if you know who Grayson is, but he's one of the kids that Keith and I are working with, and he's doing very well. And he's been going outside for the first time in the last couple of weeks, and now he has a play date. Oh, my God.
Awesome.
I know. Okay, Keith, so any other words to impart on the liver gallbladder?
Nope. But
we love you.
Great. Love
yes,
you.
Do. I want to say that if it wasn't for Keith, my son wouldn't be as good as he is right now.
And I think I
I
believe
and how to keep the body, functioning, get the body functioning a little better so it can help itself.
Okay, Kathy, let's ask those questions. If you hadn't raised the low body temperature, and you hadn't done 50 plus liver gallbladder flushes, and you hadn't put him on a low oxalate diet, do you think the CD protocol would have been successful for your son?
I think it would have been just like everything else I have tried, and just been probably good in the beginning. I see a little something. I have high hopes, and then the major crash because he probably couldn't release everything, all the toxins that would be stimulated to try to get out of the body.
I think so too. And I just wish there was some way to like screen the kids that can just throw it at him and run for the hills and there you go. And the ones that you have to kind of pay a little bit more attention to the basic rules of detox. And I think these are rules. I think there should be a rule that if your body temperature is low, you don't attempt to increase detox in these kids. I think there should be a rule that if you have not confirmed the status of the liver and the gallbladder with at least one flush, you're probably going to run into trouble there later. Don't you think, Kathy?
Yep, and I do think the body temperature was a really big thing for us.
But it wasn't that hard to get it up, was it?
No, it happened pretty quick, and it was something that stayed. It wasn't,
Yeah. Well, it stayed, but at the same time, you continued to do other stuff with Keith, and it was staying. It wasn't like you did the temperature protocol and then stopped all communication with Keith, and it just stayed.
Well, I would say that, no, it got up, and we didn't have a lot of communication for a long couple of years.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, we got it up, and yes, I did my 50 liver gallbladder, but I'm saying after that, when Keith and I didn't talk for a while, for a year or two period, it stayed. In other words, once I got the body temperature up, I've never had to revisit that.
Oh, good. Okay, well, I think this, and you, how often do you use clean as a whistle?
I have not used that in a while. I haven't needed to.
And Keith, can you tell her really quickly what you were saying about clean as a whistle and Epsom salt versus the amino mix for the liver gallbladder flushes? You did something, Keith. You're not.
What did I do?
Now you're good. Go ahead. Say it again.
There's similar situations. One's a sulfate, magnesium sulfate. One's a magnesium hydroxide. And they both dilate the bile ducts, and they both push things through the digestive tract. It just depends on which ones. Put it this way, the clean as whistle is an easier process because it oxidizes fecal matter on the side of the wall because it releases oxygen, where the magnesium sulfate is more of for better word, a poison, because the sulfate can kill a lot of things as it goes down the digestive tract more than the clean as a whistle.
So how would you dose the clean as a whistle, and would you still need the citric acid chaser to make it effective?
You need the citric acid to make the magnesium separate from the oxygen. It's basically the hydrochloric acid in the stomach combined with the citric acid that makes the magnesium break apart and saturate the bowels with oxygen. And so it's something for Kathy to think about. If we take hydrochloric acid and take it with the clean as a whistle, it may even have a bigger impact and a better detoxifying mechanism than we already know. We're just learning from a woman that couldn't activate the clean as a whistle because she said it didn't work. I told her to take 4 hydrochloric acid with the clean as a whistle, and oh my God, she eliminated.
Oh my God. Keith, you're so funny how much joy you get out of imagining someone running to their bathroom and exploding all over the floor. It's just too much joy.
Well, the point being is there's always new things to learn, and this was a huge learning process here.
Well, let me ask you this, Keith. It sounds to me like just clean as a whistle tastes a little better than Epsom salts.
It depends on the person, but I would say 80 to 90% would say yes.
Well, what
I'll say
if?
yes too. So you're saying you could use that instead of the Epsom salt?
Yeah.
That's intriguing.
Yeah.
I'm saying it could probably be used instead of the Epsom salts, yeah. But you want the Epsom salts for the killing aspect, especially the last two. The dilation is the whistle, and the killing aspect going down the digestive tract can be done with the paramunes and the Epsom salts.
So why wouldn't you? How many times do you dose the Epsom salts on the liver gallbladder flush?
She uses 4 times.
Why wouldn't you do it every other one?
It's possible you could do that.
But I think for the first time these kids are doing a liver gallbladder flush, if we have a way to make it potentially milder and potentially more palatable, then we should consider having them do clean as a whistle.
Well, we have to try these things. I've done it with one woman, and it worked really well. And we haven't done it on a full liver gallbladder flush, just to clean as a whistle. So,
Kathy, you're our guinea pig. Will you try it? You will, right?
I'll think about it.
Oh, that one should be. That's like the mellowest thing you've ever done. She's like thinking, too cute. Okay, Kathy and Keith, thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Any last words? Or are we all good?
We're good.
All good.
Okay, talk to you soon. Thanks, Kathy.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye, Keith.
Bye-bye.
Love you, both you guys.